All right, y'all. Hello, hello. I hope everything is going well for you guys. Let's just jump into it because there's a lot and I just want to make sure I got enough time to get through it. So I don't know how much you guys are familiar with Dr. Umar Johnson, but I was introduced to him through the Hidden Colors documentaries. My father was very much captivated, as many of us were, by Dr. Umar's charisma and his passion and his claim to being a psychologist and a Pan-African reformer or activist, the Prince of Pan-Africanism, and his incessant social media presence as well, just being at the center of a lot of issues surrounding the Black community, especially those that we deem to be worthy of our attention, whether they're positive or useful or not. And so Dr. Umar Johnson, constantly a source of entertainment, I would say, at least, and at times a figure of hope for some, depending on where your priorities and you place your faith, right? And so recently he was involved in some revelations to many people who have realized that maybe this is what I like to call the perpetual grift. It's a pattern when charisma replaces accountability again and again. Blacks, we tend to use a lot of our emotion and our there's a reliance on these messiahs, so to speak, who come in and promise things and do the heavy lifting in our eyes to give us equal footing or hope or just a good feeling, I think, is what we're chasing most of the time. This is why I feel like I got so many attacks behind that Amanda Seales video on Jubilee, because many of us take it personally when we are not left feeling as though our oppression is the center of our being. I don't want to say it like that, but it's what it's giving. Without the oppression, who are we? Is kind of like the question that I feel like many of you are actually asking when you're lashing out at me and saying that I hate myself because I ask questions about our autonomy, our agency, our accountability. Those words all seem to be naughty words to Blacks in America. I am not saying that's all of us, but it just seems as though these are just dirty words I'm not supposed to say. So we're going to talk about activism in grassroots mini machines as well, from the national level on to the local level, where, these machines, democratic machines, are constantly recycling our trauma and our pain and our oppression for seemingly their own personal gain. So from, national influencers like Umar Johnson, Prince of Pan-Africanism, clearly beyond our borders, he has influence, and to our local level nonprofits and grassroots movements that seem to promise, these changes and these high hopes, but then it seems as though these big promises also require nonstop fundraising and attention farming, kind of reminiscent of churches and how, there's that perpetual roof fund. And so that grift, if you look at it, is the ongoing roof fundraiser that just never seems to end. And we don't have the transparency. You know, we're looking at people who don't have the structures in place legally that allow for the transparency, the audits for your donations and where they're exactly going, because they haven't come forward with their legal structures around whatever they're doing, whether it be for raising money for a school, raising money for their own personal legal battles, or raising money for class actions, or group group activism. But when you ask more questions, you get more questions, or shamed, or told that you are a C word or N word or a sellout, right? And so when the bill comes due, they're asking for more money. When we're looking for the tangibles, we get nothing. And I mean, this has been, white liberals' playbook. This has been the Democratic Party's playbook. This is what we've gone through in our asks for reparations. Why I am very adamant that we need to stop asking and looking for things to be paid to us, and acknowledge our power and how we can maneuver around that until we get that. But at this point, if you're going to keep begging for that and you don't even have the power to advocate for yourself, and you're constantly looking for a messiah to save you and do the heavy lifting for you, while you just either shell out money or, reposts or, show up to the congregation for the feel good gospel renditions, and then you move on. So we look at 3 case studies today. Dr. Umar Johnson, who has his long promised school, Amanda Seales, who we just watched on the Jubilee debates, and she has transformed herself somewhat like a chameleon, still wearing the same clothes, but for some reason we're taking her, some of us are taking her different, ingesting her in different ways, and where that attention becomes like a hustle, right? And then Chicago's nonprofits and political ecosystem, including Chicago Teachers Union's audit fight. So when we look closely at that accountability and what it actually looks like legally and practically, but we kind of end up with more questions than answers. But let's start with the school that never opens. Okay, so Umar Johnson's donations without deliverables. Okay, we've been for nearly a decade waiting on Dr. Umar Johnson to raise money for his Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey FDMG Academy, and the pitch was a school for Black boys that would resist a broken system. I mean, how can you not get behind that if you are, especially off the back of Hidden Colors and a lot of the loss of masculinity in our homes, in our neighborhoods, in our influential circles. And the result is years of, live streams and appeals, but no functioning school. And so in August of 2025, this year, multiple creators and posts shared docket images and commentary alleging the FDMG property faced sheriff's sale auction over tens of thousands in unpaid municipal charges and utilities. So not paying the bills, but you've been fundraising for years. These clips show purported court paperwork and motion filings with figures in the $38,000 to $76,000 range, referenced across some posts. So here we have what's going on with Dr. Umar. This is from blackwestchester.com. Damon K. Jones published this on August 16, 2025. And a lovely AI image looks like they're Dr. Umar. For over a decade, Dr. Umar Johnson has been one of the most polarizing figures in Black America, known as the self-proclaimed Prince of Pan-Africanism. Johnson has built his reputation on fiery lectures, unapologetic racial commentary, and an ambitious dream to create the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey FDMG Academy, a school dedicated to the education and empowerment of Black boys. But today, that dream is hanging by a thread. a school-facing auction. On August 13, 2025, reports surfaced that the FDMG Academy campus in Wilmington, Delaware, is facing a sheriff sale of to unpaid vacant property registration fees and outstanding utilities. I remember seeing like one video of him walking through a couple of like empty classrooms, and there was like one blackboard up and like a chair, maybe one chair, like, but then it was like open ceilings and wires and stuff. So I mean, like we got breadcrumbs, but as far as like actual, tangibles, yet to come, as far as I can tell, right? And so I forgot where I left off here. According to Johnson's so the school's facing auction on August 13th. Reports surfaced that it's facing a sheriff's sale due to the vacant property registration and outstanding utilities. According to Johnson, the city of Wilmington posted the notice of auction directly on the building rather than contacting him by mail, phone, or email. If the debt isn't settled by August 25th, 2025, which is a few days from now, the property could be sold at auction, effectively ending Johnson's long promoted project. Johnson claims the city is targeting the academy with escalating fees, noting that the vacant property charge is set to jump from $5,000 to $12,000 annually this fall. He argues that such costs are punitive and discriminatory, designed to push the institution into foreclosure. How could this have happened? Frozen finances. The auction threats come on the heels of another setback. In July, Johnson revealed that both his personal and school bank accounts had been frozen following alleged hacking attempts. He described the episode as funny business, suggesting the shadowy forces are working to sabotage his efforts. The freeze cut off access to funds, donations, and operating capital, making it nearly impossible to address mounting expenses tied to the academy. And so I think I have that video of him. That was the first thing I had thrown up here. Let's see if I can figure this out. My life in the sunshine. All right, there we go.
No money right now because my personal account contains all of my money. I only send it to Apple Pay and PayPal as necessary. So the Prince of Pan-Africanism, for the first time in my life, is without any digital currency. So for my loyal supporters out there, if you can spare a few dollars so I can take care of Queen Mother Ifa Tunde and myself until my bank account is frozen or canceled so I can get my money back and open up a new account, please hit my Apple Pay or hit my PayPal. My personal PayPal account is Umar the Psychologist at yahoo.com. So that's paypal.me/Umar the Psychologist, paypal.me/Umar the Psychologist, paypal.me/UmarThePsychologist. Dr. Umar has access to no money right now because my personal account, paypal.me/Umar the Psychologist, or hit my Apple Pay using my cell number 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858. I've never asked the people for $1. I have never asked the people for $1 in my life. I've only...
If you say it 3 times, it's got to be true.
He asked you to donate to the FDMG Academy for Boys. I don't have any sons. I have 2 daughters. So the FDMG campaign is a selfless project, mission, and service to provide our boys with the education that they deserve. But right now, I don't have any money because my account was frozen by my bank because someone has been trying to hack into my account, hack into FDMG Academy account. So the FDMG Academy account is frozen. My personal account is also frozen. That means we're going to lapse on our utility bills. We're going to lapse on our internet bill. We're going to lapse on a lot of our bills at FDMG. The bank is not giving me a timeline as to when the situation is going to be resolved. PayPal.me/
Sounds legit. He says he's never asked anyone for a dime. I don't know about that. Let's see. So this is drumarjohnson.com. And if you take a look here, you got lectures, drumar.tv. Now, of course, he's going to sell products, right? So I get that. Updates, events, join, vision, about, books, connect, and donate. Never asked for a dime, but there's donate right there. Tickets is different than donate. Donate. hopefully tax deductible if you have your business structure in order, right? Yeah, let's see. Send money to Marcus Garvey. I'm sure this will suck me right in there. So I'm not logging in there. I'm not doing that. All right, let's get out of there. Sorry, he almost got me. So yeah, but the donate link takes you to a PayPal link to pay him, and then there is, he's selling things, and then here we have the FDMG membership portion of his page here that says click to find out more for those who are not able to commit to regular monthly donation. Now he's saying it's not for him personally. That plea that he just gave you was his only personal plea for personal funds. I hope for the love of IRS that is true. For those who are not able to commit to regular monthly donation, we urge you to continue to make your contributions whenever possible via Cash App, PayPal, or mail order donations. All donors will be honored, whether random or regular. When we finally, 3 times, it'll be true, open the Honorable Marcus Garvey Elementary School of the FDMG Academy. We appreciate you. Not asking for money for him, asking for the school bronze level. Let's see how much that costs us. $50. Sorry, let me show you that. $50. Okay. Silver. $100. Gold. $250. Platinum. $500. Don't pay me no mind. And diamond. Let me think. A G. Yes, it's 1,000. Woo woo woo! You won Jeopardy. And so yes, our Prince of Pan-Africanism, with his multi-level plans for this school, which will finally open, according to this, once you've donated enough. I wonder how much he's gotten. I'm sure the IRS is looking into it, or have, because that's what it sounds like when you're pleading that your personal accounts as well as your business accounts have all been frozen and you are in need of Apple Pay and Cash App only. Send cash, no checks, no money orders. I have no account to transact in anymore because they are all frozen. To claim that it is fraud on anyone's behalf other than your own, allegedly, is a little weird, because I know when I have issues with my bank and something weird happened and it was someone else's fault, I contact the bank, they verify on me, I say this is not mine, they dispute it, everything's good, like less than 48 hours. I don't understand this. But hey, I'm not dealing with, multi-level donations for a finally 10 years project. So I don't know. I could be wrong. But so yeah, we're back to Dr. Umar. Yeah, he says he didn't ask for anything. That's not for himself. It's for the children, y'all. It's for the children. You could read his bio here. It's also very questionable at times. But moving on, he's explained to us that he needs this money, and now it's because of his personal accounts being frozen due to some sort of fraud. See if I can pull that up here for your viewing pleasure.
Throat goat, hood, Lene Stacks, Siobhan Stone, Lene Stacks, throat goat, hood rat, jump off, fishy coochie, the queen of fishy coochie. I believe she may have taken information regarding the bank account of FDMG and my personal. I discussed this with the attorneys. The attorneys told me that it would be in my advantage if Siobhan Stone, throat goat, or Pastor Bussy tries to access my personal account or the school's account, because that is a federal crime. I saw her privately 3 times inside of the same Philadelphia hotel after hours for no more than 2 or 3 hours. This young lady told me that she would not mind coming to care.
Red flags. How do you know that it smells like fish? How long does it take in a hotel room to find that out?
Care for my mother. I assured her.
Now she's caring for your mother. I mean, that's a lot of trust for some fishy cat that you never got close enough to smell in the hotel room for 3 hours.
Her that I would pay her, and I did pay her. And this is going to be important.
I paid her for that service only.
Important when I bring up the attorney in a minute, because I consulted with an attorney in Kansas City who told me that if I can prove that I paid her to care for my mother, then she can be charged with HIPAA violations for discussing my mother's personal, sensitive medical information without permission. 3 throat goat sessions turned into a 2.5-year relationship with marriage.
Oh, so it was the throat goat. That was it. The throat goat is what got you close to the fishy kitty, and then her close to your mom and your bank accounts. Making a little bit more sense. Sorry, must have missed that little tidbit about that.
Love, masturbation. Talking about I ate out your fish tank. You have an aquarium down there. She has an aquarium down there with every creature in the ocean. She got squid, she got clams between her legs, she got oysters, she got shrimps between her legs, she got salmon, whiting, tilapia, you name it, she got it. Squid, octopus, every funky creature is between them legs, brothers.
Which creature are you, Umar? Which one?
She needs a yoni steam, a yoni dream, and a yoni clean. Lene.
Very interesting take there, Dr. Umar Johnson.
Left. All right. How's your balance? Right. S.
I don't know what happened there. All right. And so, yeah, moving on. So the accounts are frozen. Some chick, throat goat, whatever. Pastor Bussy and Medea. I'm so lost. I don't have time to figure this out. All I know is this sounds very suspicious, and I've been suspicious of this man for a while. Oh, I started to tell you guys. So I remember my dad, we went to go see him in Chicago on 71st and like Stewart, at the Culture Connection. He had like a whole thing where he was up there speaking, and it was very convincing. It was also hot in there, so I could have been like under the influence of heat stroke. And so I just remember my dad, like, he was very into Umar and his message and like passionate about supporting him. And so after the whole speech, whatever, he went up to shake the man's hand. And I just remember how the man was looking at me and all the other women there. And I don't think my dad liked that too much. And then he reached out to shake the man's hand. And he was like, afterwards, my dad was like, I don't like how he was squeezing my hand. He's like, that was very like, like you don't squeeze a man's hand like that. Like you're trying to like intimidate him. It was like he overdid it or something. Like, yeah, I don't know, men fill me in. What be happening with that? Like he was like those, like he was trying to squeeze it, like he was trying to do something to me. And I was like, well, I don't know. You guys are having your little ego battle there. I'm going to step away out over here. So anyway, just that little personal tidbit about that. So yeah, around the same time, these streams of clips circulated that his bank and schools were frozen. We just saw that. Urgent appeals for PayPal and Cash App donations. Regardless of who you believe, this is the pattern, a long fundraising arc that ends it with emergency asks, even though he claims he never asked for money, but this time he really, really needs it. So look, years earlier, Umar faced a Pennsylvania board hearing questioning his credentials. He publicly framed that outcome as a win. Coverage at the time emphasizes the credentials controversy, even as the board did not find evidence he was practicing without a license. This is relevant because oversight and governance have followed him for years. And I think there's like a Root article here about the legal hearing. No one presented evidence that he engages in the practice of psychology without a license. The state board had specifically accused Johnson of misrepresenting himself as a psychologist who is licensed and offers counseling sessions. They threatened him with a $10,000 fine per infraction, but he claims he never presented himself as such a psychologist. The board's final decision will be made at a later date. He didn't tone down his fiery rhetoric after the hearing. Of course he didn't. He asked who referred his case to the state and demanded to know his accuser. I want to face my accuser. That's right, Umar. And I believe that African Americans as well as Caucasians are involved in this situation. Oh God, this is a quote. But I also believe that the State Board of Psychology of Pennsylvania is jealous of the fact that an unlicensed certified school psychologist with a doctorate in clinical psychology can have the type of international reputation that they do not have. On his website, he describes himself as a quote, a certified school psychologist who practices privately through Pennsylvania and lectures throughout the country. This is what he said when we were at the lecture. So that's why I was like, this was news to me when I heard it. I'm like, okay. But in addition to working with youth, Johnson has been fundraising for a Dream Academy for African American children. His fundraising has been criticized for a lack of transparency, with the fate of more than $500,000 he raised through online campaigns remaining unknown. Okay. What we say? How much? Whatever. More than $500,000. Okay. Unknown. His credentials working for the school district of Philadelphia have been verified, as well as his 2012 PhD in clinical psychology from the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, but he referred to himself as a doctor years before that. The state did not respond for requests for comment for his hearing. So very gray area there, but I guess that was a victory for Johnson. So yeah, so just looking at the bigger picture, this is back to what's this man's name? Damon Jones' article. He had this call to action recently asking for people to protest the selling or the auction of the school. So I mean, this is like a perpetual grift. Okay. Coverage at the time emphasizes the credentials. I'm sorry. This is what I mean by the perpetual grift. When a project is built around a single charismatic figure without a board, without audited books, without regular disclosures, the money becomes functionally indistinguishable from a slush fund, a pool you can dip into for emergencies, travel, and crisis-driven appeals, including your legal issues. So screaming for, accountability and government, transparency when you're not even transparent in your own budgeting and your own, you're not, upholding your own costs for audits is crazy work. Anyway, so to Amanda Seales, this is her grift for attention, I feel like right now with the the Jubilee, and I've seen some things about her trying to raise money herself. But perpetual grift isn't always cash. It can just be attention. I think she's more of an attention monger. She just filmed the viral Jubilee Surrounded episode, One Black Radical versus 20 Black Conservatives, which was designed for a good faith clash. But if you watch the full thing, you see that she really was just there for attention and to stonewall her arguments. Her counterparts, right? And so separately, her long-running Issa Rae rift also keeps resurfacing, most recently through Club Shay Shay clips and coverage where Seales says the insecure environment wasn't empowering and recounts the 2019 Emmys party incident. Issa Rae has addressed it elsewhere. There's public video and commentary summarizing Seales' claims, but this isn't about picking sides. This is about how conflict becomes content again and again. I didn't really get all of the ins and outs of the Issa Rae situation, but I just know she definitely was saying that she didn't feel like she was welcomed into this event, as well as the Emmys party, as well as just within the fold on set because of her political views. But if you see how she was behaving here on the Surrounded Jubilee episode, you can kind of see, well, who wants to deal with that? Like, you're yelling, you're screaming, you're being the crazy Black woman. And it's like everyone can have their own opinions. The thing is, we have more in common than we don't usually, unless we're just completely just trying to be contrarian just to be contrarian. And sometimes, she even admitted in a thing, I just want to be the opposite of what white supremacy represents or what white imperialism represents. And sometimes that can just get you in trouble because now you're just trying to be the counter. You're looking for a constant fight, even when there is not a fight to be had. So, there was the other controversy we talked about with the Myron Rolle in 2019 when she publicly discussed messages she says she received from other women about Rolle, and Rolle strongly denied the allegations, and Seales later posted a clarification saying she didn't accuse him of harassing her. Must have got a cease and desist directly. Media coverage captured all of that back and forth, and then the important point here is just that relitigating it isn't relitigating it. It's observing how the outrage cycles drive visibility, even when the facts get clarified later. So it was just another moment for her to get some attention. She doesn't care how crazy she looks. She doesn't care how stupid she looks. It's almost like, I'm a narcissist. I'm the only one who matters, and I am going to get attention no matter what it costs. And I'll just be able to like talk my way out of it later, and it's fine. So then, is she different from Umar? It's like the logic can rhyme, conflict, virality, brand. But if you never have to reconcile claims with accountability or outcomes, the grift can be perpetual, just in views instead of dollars. And I mean, Umar is definitely a glutton for attention, but also for, $500,000 for a school that still hasn't been built in over 10 years. So then we can look at this on so many levels, right? It comes down to this being the way to get what you want out of the Black community, because it's just, we keep falling for it, quite frankly. And it's like, look, in Chicago, we all know how corrupt this big machine politic is, right? How big the politics of the Chicago machine. You look at CPS chief Barbara Bird Bennett, who pled guilty in 2015 after steering $23 million in no bid contracts to favor vendors for kickbacks, right? That's the classic machine politics at work: power, patronage, and opacity. But today's playbook includes many machines like small grassroots groups and nonprofits that raise money under reformist branding and then avoid structures like not having PAC registration, no nonprofit registration, no audits. And that's how you turn your movement into a personal ATM. And, now you don't know where the money's going. So, I mean, there's a lot of that stuff going on. But we need real receipts, especially if you're giving your money and you're thinking you're making change. So many nonprofits, a Chicago area nonprofit executive pled guilty in March of 2025 to $1.8 million in fraud straight from the IRS DOJ pipeline. And so this is about, let's see if I pull this up. This is about a Barbara Harris, an executive director at the Center for Community Academic Success Partnerships, which receive government grants and other funds to provide after-school programs to schools in the Chicago area. The grants included funds from the 21st Century Community Learning Centers program, a federal program offering financial support for academic enrichment opportunities. The 21st Century Grant Program issued grants to its local administrator, the Illinois State Board of Education, which in turn disbursed the funds to CCASP. Harris stated in a plea agreement from 2012 to 2017, she schemed with another CCASP executive, Tony Bell, to submit grant applications that inflated CCASP's projected annual expenses and falsely claimed that the organization would receive services from 5 subcontractors. In reality, Harris knew that the subcontractors, 2 of which were other nonprofit groups run by Harris and Bell, provided no actual services to CCASP. The fraud scheme resulted in approximately $1.8 million in actual loss to the Illinois Department of Education. Like, this is the stuff that goes on. So this person pled guilty. She pled guilty that she also participated from 2021 to 2023 in a separate fraud scheme that built the federally funded AmeriCorps Vista program, which awarded grants to nonprofit organizations working to bring communities out of poverty. Okay. Harris at the time, who at the time of the scheme was serving as co-executive director of the nonprofit South Suburban Community Services, submitted grant applications falsely representing that Vista members would work for SSCS developing programs aimed at bringing economic opportunities to the south suburbs of Chicago. Harris knew that Vista members would actually be used at SSCS to support already funded job training and after-school violence prevention programs. So, like, you're stealing from the children, you're stealing from disabled people, you're stealing from the poor Blacks. right? Or, it could be other people, but if we're going to look at the disproportionate amount, especially on the South Sides, which is where this is who she was affecting. After school program kids, people who needed economic opportunities in the South suburbs. She's from South Holland. She pled guilty in February 27th of 2025 to wire fraud charge, and the U.S. District Judge Andrea R. Wood set sentencing for July 11th. So who knows what happened with that, but yeah. I mean, this is like ongoing fraud, and this is on the IRS website, just FYI, where I'm reading this from. So, if you want to check that out, that's IRS, former executive of Chicago area nonprofit pleads guilty in $1.8 million fraud scheme. So yeah, IRS, $1.8 million of fraud. Crazy work. So you have just an ongoing perpetual grift that many people know is it's always there. It's it's so tempting because we are so eager to feel good about what we're doing, what's happening, where our money is being donated, and possibly we'll see it somewhere else because we want to easy throw money at it, little easy payoff, instead of doing the hard work, watching what's actually happening with the money, holding people accountable, maybe even volunteering to do some of that work ourselves. But no, just throw money at it and hope that it turns out okay. So yeah, we definitely have to be more willing to audit things ourselves. Okay. Especially when you're taking your own money and putting it into something as a taxpayer, as a donor to a nonprofit. So look, I would say based on what the law requires, I just want to give y'all a little checklist of things that you need to evaluate. Any group, any funding, any person, charismatic leader who is taking your funds, claiming that they're going to change things or do something radical to help your whatever you're feeling passionate about, be they a pastor, a nonprofit, or a political leader or figure, a grassroots protester, all of that. Umar Johnson, Amanda Seales, whoever. In Illinois, charities must register with the Attorney General's Charitable Trust Bureau and file annual reports, the AG 990 Illinois, often with the organization's IRS Form 990, and in larger cases, CPA audits. No registration, no annual. So that is a big red flag. The IRS forbids private inurement, no siphoning nonprofit assets from insiders, travel, hotels, stipends beyond reasonable compensation for legitimate work. Violations risk penalties or loss of status. And if they're raising money to influence politics, in Illinois, once a group raises or spends over $5,000 in a 12-month span for political purposes, it must register a political committee and file ongoing D2 reports with a separate bank account and a named treasurer. No committee, no filings is a red flag. When a leader uses the group's megaphone to fund personal, lawsuits, travel, lodging for conferences without a PAC or nonprofit structure, that is a commingling risk. This is how many grassroots become slush funds. Again, it's the pattern, not just one person. And so you have to look at these, all of these things that keep getting us riled up emotionally, that we're trying to involve ourselves in, that we may mean well, but when we're throwing our money at these people and they are not being held accountable, and we keep letting their charisma and their attention-seeking ways and their influence, get us starstruck or whatever, this happy feeling that we get, when we're just swooning away at the promises of what they're, gonna use our funds for and our sweat and tears sometimes, then, we're getting caught up in a game that we're going to keep playing. And it's like a perpetual grift. And that is what people have been doing to us for decades. That's why we haven't gotten reparations. Any form of reparations that's come in these nonprofits, like you see with the lady we just read about, that was supposed to be working on after school programs, but then she's double dipping and taking the money. But this grift looks different in other cases. You know, you got Umar Johnson with the donations without deliverables for the school. You've got Amanda Seales, her conflict and controversy turned into an attention engine, which funds her and puts money in her pocket. I just saw her post a video that says, I'm not going to do anything for free. And it's like, well, of course not, because you're out here, like, that's your whole thing, is you get attention, you go do this, you go collect the money, and then you're just causing confusion wherever you go. So it's like thinking that she's out here just being some, you know, political leader with, you know, her heart and soul behind some movement is crazy. Like, the fact that people are in my comments attacking me for even bringing up how ridiculously ignorant her whole Surrounded episode was, you know, is, I don't understand what your issue is, other than I'm not making you feel good about how people play on your feelings. And that's not my job. If you're getting played, you need to address the person playing you, because it ain't me. Chicago's mini machines, like I said, we got grassroots movements, we got nonprofits, all of these different agencies or groups that claim that they're going to go out here and do things and change things and be different than the Chicago machine. But honestly, they're just perpetuating the same thing on a smaller scale, without doing those filings, without having their own audits, while calling other people corrupt. Right. And so the antidote, like I said, is kind of simple. You know, if you ask for structure, if you ask for transparency, if you ask for audits, you won't keep falling into this trap. Same thing with CTU. We need those audits, y'all. But the numbers don't lie. People do, especially when the spotlight pays. So if you are with me on, data over drama, please make sure you subscribe here. We're going to talk more about some of the ins and outs of, definitely the Chicago machine, because I love focusing on that, as well as just how you can look into things a little bit more and do your own research and understand where the data is coming from, where the funds need to actually be applied, how these nonprofits, and how even like public welfare. I think we're going to do a video on how the Section 8 situation is kind of bubbling over, where people are freaking out over losing their vouchers after 2 years if they're able-bodied adults. So it's like, that's to me, that's another perpetual grift. It's like we're funding, but we're also enabling dependency. And because that just allows us to keep skimming off the top and making sure our vendors and our buddies all get their hand in that pot, and they're able to take funds away from actually moving the needle on Black equality. So let's just get out here and do what we're saying we're doing. If you're raising money to better a community, if you're raising money to create a political movement, then you need to build the structure and actually follow the laws and be transparent. So when it comes down to the IRS and actually getting audited at some point, you have nothing to worry about. You won't have to have your accounts frozen. You won't have to be on Instagram begging and pleading for people to Cash App you only and Apple Pay you only, because you have no access to funds anymore, because you've raised money and it's been murky, because you've made it your personal ATM and slush fund for your own personal gain, rather than what you've been advertising it for, which is to work in a transparent organization or structure. So that's all I got to say on that. What do you guys think about Dr. Umar? Do you think he is actually trying to help people, or has he been a grifter this whole time? Do you think maybe something went wrong? Why do you think his accounts are frozen? Do you think there was ever going to be a school? Are you going to go march and protest on his behalf? Because I think he was asking people to go down there and like march and protest for him, because at this point, that's all he's got left, is the few people who still are believing in whatever it is he's been selling them through his charisma and his platforms. So I say all that to say, I hope you guys are, looking into things and being vigilant instead of attacking Black people who are trying to equal the playing field in ways that obviously haven't dawned on you are possible. And I'm not trying to be condescending, but it's like when you are attacking someone and telling them that they are anti-Black because they are questioning why we've been waiting hundreds of years or decades for changes, and people have been giving us stepping stones, but for some reason the steps are still in the same place or descending, honestly. You don't, why are you attacking me? You need to be attacking the person who's been taking your money, because I haven't gotten a cent from you, and somehow I'm anti-Black because I'm out here trying to tell y'all to wake up and stop allowing your communities to be left in disarray, while making white liberals feel good about themselves. So that's all I got to say on that. Like I said, I'm definitely going to talk about the Section 8 thing with Trump because people are freaking out, as they have been. I thought we were going to be in chains by now, according to everyone, but now we're just upholding some of the policies that were already built around these programs that were not meant to be generational. But I digress. All right, y'all, take care. Peace.